Hey mini enthusiasts, how you doing? So welcome back again. Thanks for joining me. As you'd have seen in the last episode, I left you at the point I was spinning up the wheel bearings. They were sounding awful. Near side one was okay, offside one sounded horrible. I'm not going to muck about. Let's just do both the both the wheel bearings. There's no point in doing one side. I wouldn't be too worried, but I am taking this car to Germany and back, which will be I don't know, 1,600 mile round trip, something like that, along the autobahns. I'm sure we'll be trying to keep up with the rest of the traffic, and I don't fancy a wheel bearing failing me. I did drive my ERA down to Germany, Bavaria, when it was last in Germany at the Ironman actually, and I had a wheel bearing go on the ERA on the way down there. It started getting noisy. I managed to get it to the IMM and I replaced the wheel bearing there. I don't want to have to do the same on Sprout. So no risk, let's just put a pair of bearings in it. So I've got the bearings from Mini Spares. They come really quickly, so thank you Mini Spares. Always good service. And there are a couple of other little bits I needed as well. Somehow I managed to lose a handbrake clevis pin. So I've got one there. And I'm also replacing, these are just little bits and bobs that you just think I might as well do them. The rubber inspection covers on the back of the brake vacuum plates are a little bit perished, so let's stick some new ones on there. Right, let's do these rear wheel bearings. Now, I've said this before, I don't do how-to videos, so I will talk through how I'm going to do it. Please don't take this as instructions for how to do it, because the thing about how-to videos is someone always knows how to do it better than you do. So I've done probably hundreds of wheel bearings in my life, quite a few on minis, and yeah, this is the way I do it. But like I say, I don't do how-to because someone always knows how to do it better. So obviously the big washer we need to keep, so we'll give that a clean, ready to go back in. Take the actual bearings out, that's the front one. The rear one we just need a lever bar for. Comes out quite easily. That's the rear bearing out, so front and rear bearings. This is a really easy job to do actually. Give it a good clean out inside. Get rid of any excess grease. I'll probably do this real time because I reckon it's only a 5-minute job. Got to that point in the build, earlier on in the build I might have taken these hubs off while I wheeled them off, painted them with hammerite. You know, I just want to get it done now. I just want to get it done. Just wanted to make sure I had the camera sitting right there. So down inside the actual bearing now, what you'll see down inside there's a cutout between the bearing races. These are the bearing races, and that's so you can get something in there like a punch, just got on the edge of the bearing race and just tap it out. So pretty straightforward. Little hammer, you shouldn't have to go mad with getting these out. Just put it on a wooden block. Just do a little bit at a time each side. What's happening as we're tapping that, it's just driving it out the bottom. And that's it, all the way out. So I always like to look, when I'm replacing a wheel bearing, is sometimes I'll actually take the bearing cage apart look at the inner race as well as the outer race, but you can usually see there'll usually be corrosion on there, or there'll be some pitting, or the actual surface of the bearing itself might have started breaking up. I think this was the side that was not noisy, so maybe we'll have a look at the other side in a moment. Once we've done one side, again, cleanliness is closest to godliness. Is that the saying? I don't know. So nice and clean. We can turn it over now, and it's easier to do now because we can get straight down on the step. Give that a clean up. Like I say, this side, there's no pitting on it. This side bearing was okay, probably didn't need to do this side. Right, that needs to be, you need to ensure that there's no, where you've been chiseling it out or punching it out, you need to make sure you haven't burred anything over in there, which I haven't.
Powering off.
Speakers had enough. So we might just run some brake cleaner through there. Just want to make sure there's nothing in there which is going to stop that, the new bearing races seating. Just make sure I get right down into the grooves. If you get anything in there that's stopping it seating properly, the bearing race will be not square. Right, cool. So there we go, that's ready to go back together now. So we've got our wheel bearings. They are mini spares bearings, they're not Timken bearings. Some of you will go, oh my god. Timken bearings are about twice the price, maybe a little bit more, but they are mini spares bearings, which I've never had a problem with. I have had problems with bearings in the past, never with mini spares ones though. So the actual bearing races themselves, the actual bearings themselves, they're same front to rear. So as you can see, that's the bearing with the cage and the rollers in it. That's the race. Just plonk that in there. And I've got a very nice tool now, which should have the exact right size drift in it. Basically get the bearing in, which is that one there. I'll show you on the old one. So that fits the race perfectly. So when you're driving it in, it puts it in nice and straight, doesn't damage anything. Not a very expensive kit that, but it is very, very useful. Now we might just want a little bit more momentum now, so bigger hammer, but again, don't go mad. Make sure the driver, you're keeping it straight and square. What should happen is the notes should change, so when it bottoms out we should hear that difference. We just need to tighten that up a bit. Hopefully you'll hear it on the camera. So that has driven all the way home. You hear it get more of a high-pitched note as it reaches the bottom. We'll just give it a last couple of taps just to double check. And then what you can do now is just turn the hub over, have a look inside, make sure that bearing is seated correctly, which it is, it's perfect. And now we turn it over and just do the other side. Now you do have to be a little bit careful here, because if we bang and press down on those studs, what will happen is we'll push the wheel studs out through the back of the hub. So we'll have some sort of arrangement like that, I think. That's it. So same again this side. Like I say, the bearings are the same. Put it in. Sometimes you might just want to square it off with a little tappy tap. That's it. Make sure we've got a driver square. And we're listening for that change in note again. That was quite distinctive, wasn't it? That is it. So that's both our bearing races in. Both seated perfectly. Just go round, check for damage. Worth giving it a quick wipe around. Sometimes you get some slight, that's only aluminium, that you get some slight shavings off that. So obviously we don't want that in the bearing. Cool. The next bit, a bit messy. Stick some gloves on. We basically need to get grease into the bearing, between the bearing cage and the inner race now. No clean way of doing this, you've got to get messy to do it. And then you kind of want to compact it in, press it in around the bearings. You can actually feel when they're got plenty of grease in them, because the bearing becomes slightly more difficult to turn where the grease sort of restricts the movement. So that's the rear bearing in. Give our hands a clean up quickly. Now on the rear bearing, there is a new grease seal to go on there. The grease seal should sit flush with the back of that. You can press them in too far, and you can sometimes put these in by hand or start them by hand. I can use the tool I've got here to put them in as well, so we might as well do that. Let's do it properly, shall we? This is after all a bearing and seal driver kit, so we just pick an oversized one like that, put the driver on the other way round, and what this will do is prevent us pushing it in too far. Again, slight note change when it's run home. I thought I'd just mention as well, on the radius arms, you don't get it in these kits, you do in some of the genuine kits. There is a rubber O-ring which goes on the stub axle, which basically forms a seal up against here. It was a modification on later minis, particularly MPIs, and prevents a grease escaping. I have got some of those rubber seals somewhere. I need to find them, but I'm going to replace them as well. Turn the bearing over now. Now this is just a repeat of what we just done before. So just pack in the bearing with grease. Make sure we get it fully circulated in there. Right, I'm pretty happy with that. There's the big washer on the outside. That is now ready to go back on the car. Let me just strip the other side down quickly, and hopefully I'll be able to show you where that bearing has failed, or is failing anyway, the reason why it's noisy. Right, there we go. That is the culprit. Hopefully you can see that. So can you just see there's like witness marks? It's not even rust. It's just witness marks. It's only on one side, so it's not at the top, it's kind of at the bottom, and that will be just where it's been sat for all those years. So it was sat for 12 years. 12 years. So it would have been sat for 12 years, probably in the same position or not moved much. Slight bit of moisture on those bearings on the bottom, or the rollers on the bottom, and that has just started to make a little bit of corrosion on that bearing surface there. So although it doesn't look like much, you often see a lot worse than that. That will deteriorate pretty quickly, and yeah, will result in a failed wheel bearing a little bit down the line. The front ones, when I've done the hubs, I did have them all apart and had a look, and I didn't see any issue with them. But these, obviously, I just greased them up, put them back together. Didn't look that hard, but if I did, I'd have seen that. So yeah, that's why we're replacing it. Good call. Let me get this done. Right, that bearing wasn't actually going down square there, so rather than just keep beating it down because you'll end up breaking it or damaging it, I just backed it off a little bit, and we'll just try again. Yeah, there's no point just smacking it and smacking it and smacking it, because you will crack the race or you'll damage it. So occasionally it doesn't quite go in at the squarely, it goes off at a little bit of an angle. Like I say, don't just keep beating it, knock it backwards a little bit and just start again. Right, final thing I need to do, I thought I'd just mention quickly, so this needs to go back on the radius arm now, back on the stub axle. This is called a castle nut, so it looks like a castle. And then we need to torque them up. So thanks for watching this. We will be back very soon. As you might have seen, I'm halfway through doing the boot, but I run out of paint.